name's Lila, Lila said hesitantly. Nice to meet you, Luca. Lila held out her free hand and Luke shook it. It's nice to meet another one of my twins' classmates, Luca said. Your twin? Lila echoed. Luca is Jalika's older brother, Adrian explained. Oh, Lila lied. I didn't know that. I can see the resemblance now. Adrian cleared his throat. You can let go now, Luca, he said in a joking tone, but there was a clear undercurrent of anger in his voice. Luca noticed that Adrian's melody was playing two different tunes. His usual cheerful one, but a new unknown one too. Luca released Lila's hand. Enjoy yourself, you two. Adrian glared daggers at Luca before morphing back into his usual friendly expression. Come on, Lila, he exclaimed, tugging Lila toward the thick of the party. Luca stood at where he was, pondering what he had heard. So, Marinette asked, coming up to him. She gazed unhappily at where Adrian and Lila were still holding hands. What do you think? Lila's melody is very hard to hear, Luca said. Marinette blinked. There had never been a melody that Luca couldn't hear immediately. But Adrian's melody was playing two different tunes. That was surprising. It had never happened before. Huh, Marinette said. What does that mean? Luca watched Adrian and Lila a bit more before turning to Marinette. It's going to be difficult to break them apart, he said. I don't think Adrian is going to take his eyes off Lila. Marinette turned to Alya beside her, who nodded. It was what Alya had been worried about too. The way Adrian and Lila's hands are intertwined, it might take a chainsaw to break them apart. Lila and Adrian at the edge of the boat, each drinking from a can of soda, talking to each other. Every once in a while, a classmate would come by and unsuccessfully tried to break them apart. Ivan tried to invite Adrian to play the piano and was politely rejected. Kim asked Lila for a dance and was hit with a glare so icy, he immediately walked away without another word. Rose attempted to drag Adrian toward the music and Adrian managed to amicably break off her grip and direct her toward Jalika instead. Marinette noticed that Adrian looked at his phone pretty frequently, so she decided to be the next one to walk up. Hey, guys, she said cheerfully. Hey, Marinette, Adrian said. Hey, Lila said, eyeing her suspiciously. She was getting tired of all these transparent attempts. She didn't want to dance, she just wanted to sit and relax. The pounding music was already driving her insane here. She doesn't want to get closer to the speakers. Can we help you with anything? Oh, it's nothing, Marinette said, giggling awkwardly. It did little to relieve the tension in the air. I just noticed that Adrian kept looking at his phone a lot and was wondering why. The party isn't keeping you from anything, is it? Oh, no, it's not, Adrian reassured. I was just keeping track of the time for Lilabug. Marinette blinked. Lilabug? It was so sappy and ridiculous, yet snarky Lila didn't even seem to notice it. How long had Adrian been calling her that? This was in exchange for his demand to keep holding my hand, Lila said. Adrian wants to keep me safe. From what? Marinette asked. Oh, because of all the Akumas that kept attacking you? Yeah, Lila said as Adrian nodded. Well, from what I saw, you don't really need anyone to protect you, Marinette casually remarked. You held your ground pretty well. I didn't know you could fight, Lila. An old friend just showed me some moves, Lila said. It's important to know how to defend yourself, right? So important, Marinette agreed. You're pretty amazing. It's nothing, Lila said dismissively. So, why do you need to know the time? Marinette asked, teasing. Are we keeping you from something? Nothing like that, Adrian said. It's just that we can only be at this party for an hour. Marinette's eyes widened. For an hour? Adrian nodded. Yeah. I need to take Lila shopping for the afternoon. Adrian's face was unreadable. Is there a problem? And no, Marinette said, edging away. No problem at all, I was just asking. Well, I'll leave you two alone now. Bye. Marinette quickly left, going straight to Alia. ALS, she hissed. How long had Adrian and Lila been at the party? How long? Alia glanced at her watch, unsure. I dunno, maybe 30 minutes? Then we have less than 30 minutes to separate them and for Luca to get a read on Lila's melody. They're planning to leave at 1 hour, Marinette said. Why? Alia demanded. They just got here. Who stays at a party for only an hour? Who knows, but we need to get a handle on the situation, stat. Marinette panted. And I found out why Adrian keeps holding her hand. It's to keep her safe, because Akuma's kept attacking her. Alia looked over at the boys. Nino, Kim, and Ivan glanced back at her. Alia pointed her head in Adrian and Lila's direction and whistled at the girls too. Alex nodded and came forward with Rose, Mylene, and Jalika. At the sound of footsteps, Lila looked up to realize an entire crowd of people was approaching them this time. Uh-oh. Her hands tightened on Adrian's instinctively, alerting him to the crowd as well. You guys need something? Lila asked casually. Without a word, Ivan and Kim suddenly grabbed Adrian's arm and pulled him from Lila at the same moment as Alex and Mylene dragged Lila away too. As they separated, a small red box tied with a bow fell from Lila's purse. Quickly, before anyone else could notice, Marinetta darted forward and scooped up the box, tucking it safely in her own bag. Jalika pushed Lila into her brother's arms and Luca took her downstairs to their shared bedroom. Guys, what the fuck? Adrian yelled, shoving Ivan and Kim off him. He looked over the heads of his classmates anxiously, managing to catch a glimpse of Lila's curly hair disappearing downstairs. Get off me. He tried to push his way to Lila, but the classmates came together to form a formidable wall. What's the big idea? Adrian demanded furiously. Move. Adrian Agresti, Alia said, arms folded. We need to talk. I knew something was up. Lila screamed, pulling away from Luca. You freaks, stay away from me. All right, I know this looks bad, Luca said calmly, holding his hands up at a distance away. But I'm not looking to hurt you or anything, I just wanted to talk alone. And clearly, Adrian wasn't going to let that happen. Lila took a deep breath. Luca's serene personality was grating on her. Worse, it was working on her. She eyed him suspiciously, but Luca really does seem like he just wanted to talk. Okay, she said. What is it then? Luca walked over to his bed and sat cross-legged on it. He patted the space beside him for Lila to sit down as well. Curious, Lila relented to do as he was told. Luca's snake-like eyes fixated on her, and, not to be challenged, Lila flashed her fox-like ones in return. Well? Lila said impatiently. What do you want to know? Talk? Adrian said furiously. Talk? You want to talk? Then why can't you do it like normal people? Why are you staging this kidnapping event? Is this a hostage situation? You weren't going to let go of Lila otherwise, Alia said, accusatorily. And she's who we want to talk about. Adrian, your behavior toward Lila had been weird and creepy ever since she came to our class. And it needs to stop. What are you talking about? Adrian asked irritably. You don't know anything about what goes on between Lila and I. Perhaps not, Nino said. But we know what Lila is saying, and she has been saying since day one that she wants nothing to do with you. Yet, you keep chasing her. And she's changing you, Marinette pleaded. Can't you see that, Adrian? You're moody and obsessive. You barely spend any time with us because you're wasting it all on her. Please. We just want the old Adrian back. We want our friend back. Adrian's look of annoyance turned to confusion, then worry. He swallowed. Could it be true? Was Adrian really going overboard, acting strange? No, you're not, an unfamiliar voice said. Adrian blinked. Lila is the only one you need, and your friends are only trying to break you two apart because they're jealous. Adrian's worry slowly shimmered back to anger. What a bunch of fake friends you have. Adrian? Marinette asked, reaching out for him. Talk to us. Like you always did. She gasped as he slapped her hands away. I don't need this, he snapped. Lila is my friend and she's important to me. You guys just don't understand how I feel about her. Adrian, this is crazy, Nino said. Look at what you're saying. You. The honk of a car from the street caught the attention of the class. They turned to see the Agresti sedan parked by the canal, engine running, waiting. Adrian smiled bitterly. Time's up, he said. Our ride's here, I'll go get Lila. Adrian tried to push his way past, but Nino grasped onto his arm. Adrian, he implored. Please think about this. Luca felt terrible. His emotions were drained from him and his body was as weak and vulnerable as a child's. If anyone else had Luca's talent, they would have heard that Luca's signature chilled and friendly melody was no longer present, as quiet as a mouse before a cat. Lila smiled evilly. Her fox-like eyes stared down into Luca's lifeless, snake-like ones. That was fun, Lila said casually. We should never do that again. Oh! She looked up as the honk from Adrian's car blared. And that's me. It was nice meeting you, Luca. See you never. Lila got off the bed, swinging her bag onto her shoulder and flipping her hair back. She climbed up the stairs to the deck of the boat and frowned when she realized the tense atmosphere. Upon seeing her, Adrian tore his wrist out of Nino's grip. What's going on? Lila said, raising an eyebrow as Adrian moved toward her. Adrian's dark mood softened, and he smiled at Lila. Nothing, he said. Let's go, we have some shopping to do. The class was silent as they watched the two of them leave. It wasn't until the door slammed shut and the car sped down the road that the quiet was broken. Hey, guys, Luca said, leaning against the wall at the mouth of the doorway leading down into the hull of the ship. He looked pale and his voice was drained. Luca, Julika exclaimed, rushing over to her brother. What happened? Gently, she supported him, leading him out to the center of the group. What happened, dude? Nino asked. Did you manage to probe into Lila's melody? Marinette asked. That girl isn't human, Luca said, before repeating, stronger, she's not human. What do you mean? Marinette demanded. Of course, she's human. How can she not be? I don't know. Luca shook his head. Her melody was off. It doesn't sound like any tune I ever heard before. I couldn't tell whose song I was listening to, if she had one or multiple. You should lay down, Luca, Alex noted with concern. Luca looked as if he was going to collapse. You look like shit. Luca nodded. Sorry, guys, he said. I tried, but I don't know what she is. She's a mystery. Don't beat yourself up, Rose said. You did what you could. Let's get you into bed, Julika said. Julika took her brother down below the deck. I'm going with them, Rose said, hurrying after their shadows. The rest of the class glanced at each other. I've got to get home, Kim said. Sorry, the party's kind of busted now too. Me, too, Max said. My mom needs some help studying for her test. Everyone spoke up with one reason why they needed to leave or the other. Slowly, the deck of the boat vacated, until it was just Alia, Nino, and Marinette left. What should we do? Marinette asked her friends. This is even worse than I thought. I dunno, girl, Alia said. Adrian is even more infatuated than I believed. This is so weird. I've never seen him act like this. I'm worried, Nino said. His mood swings are changing at the snap of a finger. I think he's going crazy. We have to do something. Alia hummed, frowning as she tried to think up of anything. Marinette already knew what needed to be done. Lila must be removed from the school. Then, everything will go back to the way it was before and Adrian will return to normal. Marinette missed her Adrian, the sweet, kind boy she fell in love with. I'm going to go home, Marinette said. I need some time to think. Of course, Alia nodded. Bye, girl. See you at school, Marinette, Nino said, waving. Marinette left the boat, rattling up the rickety pier that connected her to the street. After she walked a fair distance away and turned a corner, did she dare to open the little box that had been burning a hole in her bag. "Marinette?" Tiki asked as Marinette determinedly unwrapped the ribbon. "What is it?" Marinette took off the lid and stared down solemnly at its content. A gold ring with a trillion ruby at its center. Marinette picked it up and inspected it in the sunlight. Burnished metal and a brilliant color in the gem. It looked expensive. It probably was. "Marinette?" Tiki repeated, worriedly. "I have to get her out of the school," Tiki, Marinette said. "That's the only resort left." "Marinette," Tiki exclaimed. "Don't be hasty. Think about this." "I am thinking about it," Marinette argued. "Master Fu is right. Lila is dangerous. First, what she did to Queen Revenge, then how she attacked Black Rose, and now Adrian is her next target. I can't let her hurt him." "What are you going to do, Marinette?" Tiki asked. Marinette took a big breath. "I'm going to regret this, Tiki," she said. "And I know you're going to be against this. But I'm going to get Lila expelled." "What?" Tiki exclaimed. "No, Marinette, that's crazy." "It's not crazy, Tiki," Marinette argued. "I'm being serious. Hawk Moth has his eyes on Lila now. He could send more Akumas after her. She could get everyone in danger. She needs to leave Françoise Dupont before she dooms us all." Tiki was disappointed in her chosen. It might be the first time she was ever so dismayed with Marinette. "How are you going to do it?" she asked dubiously. Marinette thought about it. As class president, she knew a bit more about the school and its systems than the average student. She was privy to knowledge and privileges that would usually be barred to the student body. Marinette knew exactly what she could do to land Lila in hot water. Hot water for her to be expelled. Marinette reached her home and waved hello to her parents as they worked in the bakery. Tom and Sabine cheerfully greeted her, but took little notice otherwise, swarmed by customers. Marinette climbed up the stairs and placed the ring that was in Lila's gift box on the kitchen bench. She looked at it for a moment. Then, she went and located Tom's toolbox while Tiki floated above the ring, pondering what Marinette was thinking. Marinette returned with a steel hammer. Tiki backed up. "Marinette?" Tiki asked nervously as Marinette approached the kitchen bench with stoic yet deadly intent. What are you doing with that?" Marinette lifted the hammer and brought it down on the ring decisively. Tiki yelped as the ring shattered into pieces. It was Monday morning when Lila finally remembered the small gift box Adrian had gotten her. After the debacle of the party, meeting Luca, shopping, and catching up on the homework she had missed while she was ill, it had completely slipped her mind. Lila was sure it was around somewhere. It must be in her bag. But even after searching her entire room and her clothes, it was still nowhere to be found. Lila frowned. Oh, well. It was probably jewelry of some kind. The box was too small to be anything else. It'll turn up sooner or later. At school, everyone avoided Lila like the bubonic plague. Rumors of what had happened at the party spread like wildfire, and now, even people outside the class and students Lila had never met before was scuttling out of her way. When Lila arrived at her homeroom, everyone stopped what they were doing to look at her. "What?" Lila asked. Everyone looked away. Rolling her eyes, Lila took her seat. "Lila Rossi?" Lila looked up to see Madame Bastier beaming at her. "Yes," Lila said. "I just want to say thank you so much for agreeing to help out with the upcoming school event." Madame Bastier gushed. "We desperately needed volunteers." "What?" Lila said, frowning. "I didn't agree to anything. What school event?" "Marinette told me that you were glad to help," Madame Bastier said. "Which is excellent. We'll need someone to put up posters around the school and bake some extra treats. And also to collect donations and help make the decorations and—" "The fuck?" Lila barked, standing up. "Lila, your words," Madame Bastier scolded. "I didn't sign up for this much shit," Lila snapped. I don't have the time for this. There's been a mistake. Lila, watch your language, Madame Bustier said steely. I will not warn you again. In my classroom, students shall refrain from using such crass words. Besides, Madame Bustier added happily, whatever you're busy with, surely it can't complete with helping out your school, can it? There's nothing more rewarding. Lila glared down at Marinette in the second row, but Marinette was steadily avoiding her gaze, pretending to be absorbed with something in her notebook. Lila sat down, breathing heavily. Marinette was up to something. She was planning something and it involved Lila. Lila was pissed.